So I heard you guys are saying there's a thing going on. My buddy streamers like Saint and like Memo, those guys are talking about roster review, their own personal roster review. And you guys been asking about my roster review, right? We should do this roster review right now. So before we talk about my 6 main roster, right? I do have every single character in the roster because I did try it up to Vicus hard. So in the very beginning, you guys came out to ask me like what classes are kind of be played and stuff because I tried all of them out. Technically, whichever games that I play, I usually decide after I try the class out in a certain length. So this is also including like any other MMOs I played in the past. So within all the characters I played, I do value the playstyle first. Within the particular characters, I did play much longer on these 10 characters. We have Gunlancer, Gunslinger, Artist, Slayer, Shadowhunter, Bard, Scouter, Blade, Artillerist, and Soul Eater, right? So Soul Eater is the newest one, and since there was an event on it, I get to raise it pretty easily. Let's talk about the Gunlancer first. So Gunlancer is my main character. You could say it's your main. You could say it's my main character because it has the highest eye level. The Transcendence is all 7. It will be all 7 next week. So Transcendence is done with the latest content. I did clear Theamine when it came out. When Theamine was out, this is the character that I always prog with. So when, let's say in the future, Kazaros comes out, this is the character I'm going to prog with. So for build, I have multiple builds. I have the red build, which I usually use for multi-purposes. Like usually I have this build on. And for the details in a build, I do have a YouTube video to cover the red build. I did play blue very long time ago when Brel was out, the Brel season. That's because blue was much easier at that time. And I wasn't really educated in the game. And head attack was actually pretty difficult for me. But afterwards, when I got used to the head attack, I've been playing this particular build where I give 1 earring to swiftness. So I have a high crit and I have 1 earring to swiftness. So I think I have about 96 to 97% crit rate on the Surge Cannon. So I'd be over critting if I have like a crit synergy on the team too. So if I have a crit synergy on the team, if I'm being too serious about it, I do have a ring to make it half and half like that. Right, but it doesn't change too much, so I'm kind of like lazy to go back and forth and min-max it. As for gems, so this is also mentioned on the video as well. I have the Nella gem, and I have the Shout gem, so this is like a personalized thing. You don't really need a Shout gem or a Nella gem. Other people have like Counter Spear cooldown gem or like a Bash cooldown gem too, right? Right now, Bash is used as a synergy skill instead of a requirement as the old Gunlancer, so you don't really need cooldown gem on Bash anymore. So since I like taking care of the team and putting synergy up as a thing, I do have the Shadow Hatred cooldown gem on it. Some people who don't put cooldown gem on Shadow Hatred, they want to sync up the cooldown for Surge Cannon and Charge Stinger. So that's the only reason. So if you guys want to line up your cooldowns better, taking off the cooldown gem of Shadow Hatred is pretty nice. But I have this up because I tend to rotate it much more, benefiting my team, and I have no problem adding in my Surge Cannon or Charge Stinger while this synergy is active. So Gunlancer is definitely my main, and I'm not going to push it any further because I can beat every I'm a type of person that if I can beat every single raid in the game with the current spec that I have without any issues, I usually don't overspend it on it. So I went to my Gunslinger, but there was a good question for Gunlancer which I didn't cover. So counter Gunlance right now is the meta skill because of the recent change. We're not forced to use Bash every time. So counter Gunlance actually does decent amount of damage since we're freed up in a gem of not requiring a Bash gem. You add a damage gem on counter Gunlance and you're more aggressive by countering attacks. So when you guys see me play Gate 4 for Theamine, you see me rotating my counter Gunlance very, very often, right? So that itself gives you like 88 million to like 150 million based on like how much synergy you got and like how much bubbles you got and stuff. So that does take a significant of the pie if you rotate it really well. So it's difficult, but that's when you kind of like, that's the fun part of Red Gunlancer because you get to use it. Fire Bullet on the other hand, if I require more stagger or more destruction, for example, destruction example would be your Akan Gate 2, right? Akan Gate 2 Fire Bullet is very, very good because of the resets. And let's say if I go to gate 4 Theomine, you see me taking Fire Bullet, right? That's because I take Fire Bullet and take Overwhelm Rune to do the stagger very well, right? And that's when I kind of take Vital Point by swapping one accessory. Now, Gunslinger. So interestingly enough, when I started this game 2 years ago, Gunslinger was my start character. And the reason why I started with Gunslinger, because back then Gunslinger was actually not that popular. It's because we never had like Salvation or Hallucination, etc. We only had Dominion. So that's like super long time ago. It's not the version that you guys have. The reason why I chose Gunslinger as the first character is because she's hot. That is actually the only reason why I chose it. I was very bad at it, but when I started this game, I couldn't even switch guns properly. Right now, I have the 9-7 stone. This was the first 9-7 stone I got. Within this 9-7 stone, I have the Adrenaline 2 with Peacemaker 3. In my stream, both bunch of you guys ask this question all the time. Is Peacemaker 3 better or Peacemaker 1 better? So I always answer whatever is cheaper is the choice that you want. Also, at the same time, I have crit and I have one earring on spec. Right, I have one earring on spec, and because they're all high quality, and my bracelet is crit swift. Right, this bracelet could be crit spec as well. It doesn't matter. But if I have crit swift here with the circulate, it's a little bit more comfy. And at the same time, I have salvation instead of nightmare. Nightmare does more damage because it's multiplicative damage, and I have a very high weapon quality of 99. So nightmare is actually more efficient on my gunslinger. But the reason why I do salvation is because it's faster. Faster attack speed, and then when I get hit by accident, sometimes I live because you activate Take a Breath. So right now, I had a choice of changing the Gunslinger into the double level 3 class TTH because that is the highest ceiling in the game right now. But Smilegate doesn't like double classes. So if I'm gonna switch it back, I'm just sticking with PM. Going over the skills a little bit. Right now, it's a little bit of change where you use double quick recharge on the dex shot and the grenade, and you try to reset as much as the meta right now is like you try to reset as much as you can and rotate focus shot, target down, and the 2 shotgun skills. And the rotation, usually what people do is they do focus shot and catastrophe, and then you do the 2 shotguns, and then you do perfect shot and target down, and then you finish it off with rain of bullet. I used to use shotgun rapid fire because as a joke I really like shotgun. And the animation of shotgun rapid fire was really satisfying. I've been using that for a very long time because this is a 7M, right? Right now, the meta is rain of bullet, and the reason why, because the range of this is longer. In Theomine Gate 3 and Gate 4, there are situations where the shotgun rapid fire does not reach. As in, rain of bullet reaches, but shotgun rapid fire does not reach. Especially Gate 3, when Theomine is doing the red attack, your shotgun rapid fire does not reach the ring, but your rain of bullet does. So most people are swapping to rain of bullet right now and then use shotgun rapid fire as a utility skill for stagger. That's what they're doing right now. If I need more stagger, I would need to switch like the gems and stuff. So right now, Gunslinger people do say that it's like kind of in a rough position. I even lowered more damage skill points to add in something like a Deathfire super armor skill so that I have increased in more survivability. This 1630 is paused here, and I have a lot of assets to increase the eye level, and I am not going to run Theomine hard gate 4 with it because I'm not confident of my skills to clear Theomine with this Gunslinger because the amount of hard gate 4 is a very tough raid, and it'll be really stressful if you just make one mistake and you have to reset it every time. So I might, like, whenever it becomes like a little easier to play, I'll probably do it. But I do play gate 1 to 3 hard with my Gunslinger. I have no problem with it. It's like super fun. But if I want to raise her higher, I would increase her armor a little bit more to like maybe 1640, and then increase a little bit more on the guns, like maybe 1640 all around. If I want to go play more on the higher raid. But right now, the Transcendence is doable with just running 1 to 3, and I don't need to push myself and spend more gold. But long story short, She's very hot. That's why I play her. I have a lot of skins. I have a lot of skins for her too. This was my first skin ever, and I remember the next one too. This was the second year anniversary skin, and then I've been buying a lot of stuff, and then the latest skin that I have is the 3rd year anniversary. You guys call it the Booba skin. I never changed it ever since. So.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
About that. Okay, so 3rd character is my artist. She is on item level and 35 on the weapon. I'm not increasing this character either, and I've beaten up to Theomine Gate 4. I've actually buzzed with this character as well, Theomine Gate 4. That's because support is much easier to be efficient at it. Some of the topics I do want to talk about artist is very, very, very cute. That's why I when she first came out, I actually played her as a DPS artist because there were no support accessories in the market. And there is an old video of me soloing Boughton with a DPS artist. But I made this character with an intention of playing support. She used to be much uglier, but a fellow customization expert, we had an interview to change my artist's look. And she gave me a bunch of skins to like fit it all up. We can talk a little about engravings and then skills too, because some of you guys might be interested on why I have it in a certain way. So engraving, this is what I had for a long time. So the 2-2 build was pretty popular because what happens is if you have yearning, you don't have the attack speed fast enough. And what happens is your orchid is pretty slow, and then if you have max movement speed for max attack speed for it, you cast a little faster. Therefore, you can use Focus Rune instead of Gale Wind. So it's like about the same if you have max attack speed and stuff. So this is an actual legitimate build that people do. And I tried it and it was really good for it. And then you get to spam a lot of skills within a very short time to make sure you have the max uptime for your Sunwell and then Sunset and then the Orchid going in between. And then you get to use your Hopper and all that stuff. When you guys have an update of Artist, the Hopper cast delay is also shortened, so you can actually combo really fast. So Artist is actually really good right now, and I use the Tiger for the additional stagger, and then I have, if I want more stagger, I have the Bird and then the Tiger and then the Well for it. But the Well, if you want a little bit more stagger, you want the Sprinkle, right? Sprinkle has a little bit more stagger on it, but I have this Well for the Destruction. So some of you guys are wondering like, how come I don't have the Tiger and don't have anything else if I don't have Sprinkle? So right now the meta is to use the Starry Night, because Starry Night became a meter gain skill that you can kind of use it. And if you play with Entropy class, and since you're behind with the Entropy players anyway, or even if you're in front of them, this skill does reach behind everybody. And then as long as you apply it to them, for 2 seconds, they have the defense buff. So you can let it go and then gain some meter, or you can just use it. But generally, these kind of DR skills are used very often in Theomine Gate 3 and 4. You can't run it without it. So this is like almost a mandatory skill. But when I'm doing something like a homework run, I can kind of take this off to maybe, if you want to use Sprinkle, you can use Sprinkle. If you want to use the Fish Well, you can use it as well. If I go to Theomine Gate 5, I actually take off the counter and then actually bring the Sprinkle on top to do more stagger on the Gate 5. And then you have the Tiger, and then I have the Starry Night as a care skill. Because Starry Night is mandatory at Gate 4 Theomine, Gate 3 Theomine. So the meta itself kind of shifted a little bit. So if for those of you who are playing Artists right now, keep that in mind and maybe practice on using the Starry Night more. So those are some of my tips that I have on mind right now while talking about the roster. And as for engraving, this particular engraving right now, I've been using it for a long time. You can still use it if you guys have it. But by the time when Theomine comes out, right now, it is important for you to have Crisis Evasion. So I got a new one. This is a new build that I have where I have Crisis Evasion 1 and then Heavy Armor 3. It is because it's so crucial not to die in Gate 4 and 5, because if a support dies, it's an immediate reset. So someone like me who are extra careful, you might want these kind of builds on your pocket to to get prepared for prog runs on your static and stuff. Most of the artists, most of the bards, they do have this kind of build. They at least have Crisis Evasion into it because there's so many attacks, so many quick attacks that just drops you from 100 to 0. And if I talk about gem a little bit, the only gem that I have as level 10 is the sunset, because this is the only thing that requires a lot of cooldown for it. But if I want to improve it cooldown more, I'm eventually going to turn everything into level 10. Because if I turn everything into level 10, even though you're full swift, just make the rotation a little faster, right? That means you can activate more buffs. So I think the next gem that I would be going for would be Orchid level 10. And then I would be like Hopper level 10, and then maybe the Gate, and then maybe Starry Night level 10 is not bad either because you do rotate that a lot. The Tiger level 10 is also good. But generally, when you guys are thinking, how should I set up my artist? This build is actually okay for G4, G3, G4. I have no problems with it because essentially your most important skill is your sunset, and your Sunwell is just a filler skill. You don't really need a high level gem for it. And Orchid, the higher it is, the floor is gonna be higher because let's say you make a mistake of missing your Orchid, the next time it comes back is a little faster, right? So that's why you have that as a thing. But it's actually hard to miss Orchid if you have the larger AoE instead of the movement speed one. I think the movement speed one's pretty useless because like you kind of use this as marking. So I think it's important for you to make sure that you land this Orchid every time, because if you don't, you're missing 10% damage for the team. All right, fourth character in the list is Slayer. I raised Slayer when it came out, but I honed her as if I like the Punisher build, right? I've been keep playing Slayer, and then I reached 1622. I got the 40 elixir for it, and I'm slowly working towards getting the ascension for it. Before talking about the build and why I'm playing the build, this is the class I'm kind of focusing right now on increasing, maybe up to 1630. And the reason why is she is very, very, very hot. Like, people would say that this class is particular, like, it's good in performance, but whatever that makes you happy is like, I just play the hot character, and it just does decent amount of damage, and if the performance itself is good enough in my hands, it's good enough. So right now, the highest content I'm doing here is like I'm busting Theomine with it, Theomine normal. Ever since this skin came out, the 5th year anniversary skin, I've been raising this class like crazy. I've been spending like at least 200k gold every week to push her. So let's talk about the build a little bit. So I do play the Punisher build with level 1 adrenaline. I haven't gotten a 9/7 stone yet. I'm actually kind of working on it. So when you guys are doing like dailies with it, I'm slowly collecting free stones that I get that has adrenaline or curse doll or like raid captain, etc. So I'm carving it slowly, and I'm also working on elixirs very slowly too, even though I have 40 set. The 40 set elixir can be better, can have some improvements. So I have a 4-2 here, I have a 5-3, but this is like HP, and this is mana and attack and all that stuff. Like, I could do better, right? So eventually, if the elixir gets a little better, it can be stronger too. The reason why I play Punisher is because before I played the 6-second cycle for Punisher. There is a video, the Amazon official guide for Slayer is made by me, and then I put in all the possible builds that could be used. They can still be used, whatever that is. And I've been using the 6-second cycle build. And that was the more fun build that I used to play. But after I reached the Theomine, I swapped to 1.5 cycle instead because I needed Wild Rush to have a little bit more mobility. The ceiling is a little bit down, but I've been having a lot more fun having Wild Rush into the kit. And since I have so much spec, which is 1845, basically, even if I miss 3 of these skills, my next spinning sword is guaranteed for me to get a meter. And by the time I get the 2nd meter, my Brutal Impact, Guillotine, and Volcano Eruption is always off cooldown. So basically, I can do all these 3 major skills within the next transformation and stuff. And sometimes my Wild Rush does have quick recharge, so it kind of recharges a little faster sometimes. But generally, this playstyle seems a little bit more smoother. Problem is, for those of you who are thinking, is Punisher or Predator better? Predator is definitely the better build for Slayer. Right now, Punisher is not in a good spot. Their benefit is actually more pushing condensed DPS. So for Gate 3, where Theomine is like standing still, Punisher is a little bit better because technically they can push all those DPS in while 3 bubbles in place and Theomine doesn't move, right? But generally, Predator is the better option, and I do want it to kind of swap it whenever I can. Right now, I'm not in a case where I want to invest and swap the build into Predator by using peons and gold and stuff to play that way, because I do enjoy playing Punisher. So for those of you who are playing Slayer, and people say, oh, why are you playing Punisher? Why don't you play Predator? Because it's better, right? The build itself has no problem for Theomine Gate 3 and 4. And I can guarantee you that, because Theomine gives you a lot of chances to land all your hits at the back. And sometimes with a better support, like a good support helping you, you have no problem with it. And I really like the Bloodlust skill because it's a super armor too, right? So you get to play some of that thing too. And as for gems, I have I recently bought a guillotine gem actually, so I'm really investing some gold on this Slayer. So I've been slowly changing it, but from this point, I don't need to invest anymore. So the spinning sword and wild stomp is one of the important ones, because wild stomp is synergy and spinning sword is the main meter gain skill, right? So you need to rotate these quickly. The Furious Claw is the same thing, but the cooldown of Brutal Impact and Guillotine, etc. doesn't need to be higher. But the reason why Guillotine is at level 10 is because you need to add in, if you want to add in 2 Guillotine within one transformation, level 9 versus level 10, you have much more room of breather to hopefully add in 2 Guillotines every time. You can do it every time if you have a level 10. It's much easier in one transformation. So I have that there. But Brutal Impact, Volcano Eruption, like Furious Claw, I haven't seen a need to increase it to level 10 because it doesn't benefit me at all. Because by the time you transform, the skill is already up and ready. That means when you're doing your second transformation, since your skill is already up, there's no point of making the skill rotate faster, right? And as for damage, Furious Claw isn't your main DPS source, so I have it as level 9 as well. And the cooldown thing here too. So this is technically complete. Like 4 level 10 gem, and the level 10 gem on the important skills, and then you have the 9s to fill it up. So the gem is technically complete. I don't need to make it to level 10 because it's more than necessary. So those of you who are wondering what this card set is, this is the new card Varkin. This is my Guardian Raid card. So if you're a back attacker or if you're a front attacker, what happens is, this is the 3 set for that is Guardian Raid. When you're fighting a Guardian, 7.5% damage decreased, additional 3% damage to Guardians, and additional 7% damage to Guardians. So it's additional 10% damage to Guardians, right? And if you have the Umar set, you have the 7.5% damage decrease. You have a more you're more buff, right? You're more defensive on 7.5 again. So you have 14% decreased damage intake. And then you have 12% damage when you're attacking from the back. So you have 22%. This is higher than Light of Salvation with the Lost Wind Cliff. So this is what most people are doing if you have full set of Barkin. That's the new set for just Guardian raids. All right. Before talking about my third character, the fifth character that is, someone asked a question about why I have Spec Swift bracelet on Slayer. The reason why is I wanted more comfort. You can have Swift crit, a Spec crit as well, for more higher crit. But since I have a little bit higher cooldown and a little bit more movement speed to have more efficiency, that is like the reason why I have it. But it's a preference thing. Okay, my fifth character is Bard. So Bard, this character is also used to bust Theomine hard gate 4 up to gate 4. This is what I did last week. This Bard is actually my second character that I created after my Gunslinger. And this Bard's cat skin, she wore this ever since I created this character. So she's been wearing this cat skin for 2 years. Because I actually don't have much of an interest in like looks, right? So not much to talk about Bard. I have the full swiftness Bard. full swiftness bard, and the engraving is 1 heavy armor, and then with max MP. Basically, right now I am thinking of adjusting things because bard is definitely one of the harder supports compared to all 3 of them. And I am still not very good at bard. I could be better. Ever since I've been like keep running Theomine Gate 3 and 4, it needs a little bit of practice. So I might do some interview in the future to improve my bard skill. Maybe from like Wine Blue or my fellow bus friend that busses with bard all the time. Like he's really good at it. Like let's say how do you be efficient on the buffs and like the skill allocations and like the positioning and stuff like that. This particular build can be adjusted. For example, I can have the drops of ether instead of vital point, but this particular build is kind of messed up. I need to reinvest it because if I switch to the crisis evasion build where I use it on buses, I don't have vital point and I have max MP. So this is actually wrong. If you're using the crisis evasion build with level 3 heavy armor, you need vital point for gate 4. Gate 4 Theomite vital point is actually mandatory. If you don't have it, you can pull it off if you have like a Gunlancer like taking vital point for you. But generally, gate 3 and 4 requires a lot of gate 4 requires a lot of stagger. And if you fail a stagger, you have a problem of resetting. Also, those of you who are watching this right now, you guys are getting ready for Voldies. Voldies, you need vital point for Voldies because Voldies requires a lot of stagger too. So if you're thinking of taking a crisis evasion plus heavy armor 3, you need to remove this max MP and put vital point in, and you have to eat a mana food. That's the problem with bard right now. That's the number one thing that people are complaining is they run out of mana way too often. So I do need to switch this, but the problem is all my accessories have max MP in it, so it's kind of like screwed up. So I may have to like buy 3 or 4 accessories to fix this up, but I just need to think about it next week. If I'm running Theomite Gate 4 regularly, not busing, I would just take heavy armor 1 because I rarely get hit. So this would be the build that I would take. But if I have to bus, I probably have to buy another set so that you can do it. Because busing is more risky. Like you need to do more stuff on that. So there's that. And as for gems, I have more 9s on Bard. Because I'm not used to the rotation of the cooldown. Obviously, Heavenly Tune is always should be always be level 10 regardless of what kind of build you are. And then everything else, I just keep it as level 9. I'm kind of like pausing this, but I should invest into more stuff. But the mandatory thing you should have is always the Heavenly Tune level 10. So I have that set up. And then this has no problems on doing certain things. And again, which I didn't talk about on this particular Crisis Evasion set, you can have 1 ring on spec if you want. Because it does make it cheaper. And this doesn't hurt the rotation as much. Because the sound vibration lasts pretty long and the Heavenly Tune itself cooldown is pretty short enough. If you also use like Conviction and Judgment and stuff. So here's the stuff I kind of want to talk about skills too. So for skills, right now this is why Bard is difficult. I have 6 different presets, and the issue is you have the identity with the buckshot, right? Identity skill with the so this is a 2 marking skill buckshot. This is for busing Voldies hard, where you have the double stagger, and then I will need to take mana food for this. This is for the buckshot plus Rhapsody, because Rhapsody is mandatory for gate 3 and 4. Like how artists I talk about Starry Night. Rhapsody is mandatory for gate 3 and 4. Therefore, you always need to have it, and taking buckshot if I think that I need to do counter more. Other players that are good, they don't take buckshot for gate 4 because they can land the counter for the sword counter in bar 87. It's a very specific counter you need to do. I'm a type that plays safer. Basically, even the ceiling is a little bit lower. I keep the floor higher, and then I make it safer so that I make less mistakes. So if you have a buckshot, like, you're not going to make as much mistakes as not taking buckshot because you have 2 counters. This is the build like that I take for Theomine Gate 4 because you need the buckshot for it, and then I have the Rhapsody, but I would need to keep aiming the sound shock properly to make sure the marking is up. Yeah, I can't use anything else. So some of you guys are wondering, like, how come I don't use Harp or how come I don't use Sonatiner, right? If I have Rhapsody, if I have Buckshot, I can't put anything else. Like, I can't remove any of these other skills, right? I can't remove. Well, sometimes, long time ago, when we were doing a proc for Theomine the First, some people have put away Prelude of Storm and then put in something else, like Stigma or like a Harp or something like that for double marking. But the bubble generation was a little bit slower. And when I'm bussing on content like, let's say, a con, sometimes I do switch to, you call this the buang buang, right? For more meter gain. Even though you don't give shield coverage, these people don't get hit anyway. So some of you guys were wondering how come you're using the other tripod. That's because you don't really need shield cure for these people. Now for gate 5, if I go to gate 5 for Theomine, I swap to this one where I don't have Buckshot because you don't really need counter in gate 5. And because everyone hits the counter for you. There's only like 1 or 2 counters that you need. So I add in like a Sonatine in to increase the floor for having a better uptime for marking. And then obviously you have your skills there too. However, if you think that the stagger is lacking, what I do is I swap Sonatine into Soundholic for more staggering. The gate 5 stagger. So from here, I started to take this one instead. So the Sound Shock has Overwhelm rune, Soundholic has Overwhelm, and the Sound Vibration also has Overwhelm. So on gate 5, I used 3 of these skills without getting killed, and then use the Rhapsody for the 3-hand stuff. Like, it's so hard to die with Bard on gate 5 stagger mechanic. Everything kind of revolves around gate 5 stagger mechanic right now for the meta for supports. So that's why I have so many presets, because you need to switch it quickly and I'm kind of lazy for it. Going into, like, let's say you don't have a Rhapsody, right? If you don't have, like, let's say Rhapsody and you don't need Buckshot, if I had one more like preset, taking people to a con, not taking Buckshot, you would take something like Stigma, or you can take Harp. So for support players out there, for those of you guys who are thinking what skills, there's no one set of skill. Like, each skill has a up and down for it. And some people take Harp because they don't want to deal with marking, because that's 10%, right? 10% keep up. And some people take Stigma because Stigma has a very high meter gain. And it can also be used as marking as well, but if it stands still. Like a gate 3 Brelshaza, it's a cube. It's standing in the middle, right? So if you put Stigma in the middle, what happens is it's like you get full effect for it. Like, those kind of playstyle is what you need to keep in mind. And Sonatine is just Sonatine. Most people are not using it anymore because it costs too much mana, and the value that you bring it is not as much. Getting ready for Voldies for you guys, and for Theomine, this tripod on the middle for 2, you need this here, because what happens is if you land the Heavenly Tune on the boss for 9 seconds, their attack damage is decreased by 35.4. So for gate 4 Theomine, almost everyone brings this, because when you use this, when Theomine's doing a big attack, you can actually save someone from 100 to 0. So these kind of playstyles are actually very, very important. And you guys will notice it when you start playing Voldies, because that guy hurts too. So you'll be surprised how much of a difference is if you switch the tripod on the second row. Because this tripod itself, taking down the boss's attack power, is actually really, really good. So, you know, for here, like, let's say I'm doing gate 5, right? This is gate 4. This is my gate 4 setup, and this is my gate 5 setup. I moved it back and forth because it was there was a lot of shield care, like a Gunlancer and etc. There were a lot of tanky guys, so I put it up for additional attack speed. But generally, I have it like this to have less attack damage, so that everyone would not get hit. So my next step is probably switching up my engravings properly for the Crisis Evasion. But if I don't have a problem clearing the raid itself, I will just keep this heavy armor 1. So the reason why I talked about Bard first on the roster is because my ShadowHunter is the last in the list of my top 6 characters. And I had 5 choices, actually 4 choices between what character I was going to push over. I had the 5 characters, and my choices were ShadowHunter, Scouter, Blade, Artillerist, and Soul Eater being the next 1620 character. They all had the potential to be 1620 because I've been running Chaos Dungeon with them, so the The material of it was okay enough, except the Soul Eater, obviously, because the Soul Eater is a newer character. Scouter, my hand hurts. AT Scouter, I tried it for 3 hours in Trixian and then try to like simulate if I would like this class or not. It wasn't my style. So if a certain class is not my style, I don't play it because I get stressed out by that. Blade, going over, I am not good with Blade. And me practicing it, I don't think I'll be ever better with it. I think some people are gifted on playing Blade really, really well. And I'm not one of them, right? So I played both of them, like a Surge. I played like Ari. I tried it. But the playstyle of Blade itself, it's just not for me. And then I'm pretty sure some of you guys, when you play a certain class, you can kind of go like, this class is not for me. So I'm pretty bad at it. So I kind of paused it at 1600. I recognize it at 1600. It might be a little bit too late. It could have been earlier, but I did enjoy playing Blade a little bit as I reach harder content like Voldies and all that stuff. When I tried it, I was like, I'm gonna be like stressed out when I'm playing like Theomine, etc. All these things. Artillerist is really fun too. I was actually thinking of either going Artillerist or Shadowhunter because Artillerist is a very fun style class where like you kind of turret yourself up. You can kind of think about yourself when you're streaming, go like, yo, give me buff kind of stuff. Like you kind of sit on the chair. And it felt like Wine Blue is having real fun playing Artillerist. And Artillerist right now, which most people don't know, is actually a really good class right now. Most people are not aware of this because Gate 4 Theomine and Gate 3 Theomine, a lot of the Artillerists are not that great. Because they transform when Theomine's trying to attack you, right? You're supposed to kind of know the safe spots ahead of time, transform, and then your damage compression is a lot faster now because the animation of laser and then the Gatling gun's a lot faster. And because you do that, you swap skills too. And some of these utility skills are really nice, like the Napalm and the Forward Barrage. Like Forward Barrage is a counter, right? And Napalm, it also has the Stagger Synergy. Stagger Synergy is super good for Gate 5 Theomine and Gate 4 in general. So more staggers to the table, and then their burst potential is actually really good too. I talk a little too much about Turf's bit, but like before that, the playstyle itself was pretty interesting to me, so I had a little bit of two choices in between them. Soul Eater, I like the playstyle, but Soul Eater was the same case for Blade. I wasn't really good at it, and I did try the new, like the high crit build. I did try the spec build. It was just not for me, and if it's not just for me, I don't invest gold into it because I know what's gonna happen in the future, right? If I play a class if I don't like, I'm just gonna be stuck with it forever, right? So those are the candidates that have fallen down, and these guys are low paying, where like I kind of do one Una quest each, the drumming quest for Fletcher, and then I just run Chaos Dungeons because 1600 Chaos Dungeons do drop very, very juicy Fate Embers. Sometimes it drops you like 50k gold, right? And it's really nice. Same case for the Soul Eater as well. Sometimes I just run Chaos Dungeons, and then I do the Una quest for the Leaf Stones, because if I eventually want to play this more, maybe on a con, the rest of these characters I actually don't like. I actually don't even log on unless I want some low peng silver. For some of you guys who are interested in like, what other classes would you be interested in pushing, right? But one class that caught me into particular interest was Destroyer, and it was Gravity Train Destroyer, because as you guys may know, when I was playing with Saint, and then a Gravity Destroyer was there in the team for Theomine Gate 3, it was really, really funny how they played. Other than that, I don't have any other classes that are into my interest. Okay, so lastly, my Shadowhunter. This is my last character that joined in the list. There are a bunch of reasons why this character came up in the list of my top 6 character. The reason why is Shadowhunter is very fun for me. It's a very fun class for me. I like transformation classes a lot. That's why I had Scouter and Shadowhunter, right? And one other big reason why I increased my Shadowhunter eye level is because I have a 9/7 stone on my Shadowhunter. I didn't want it to waste it. Going over, I have multiple choices, right? Some of you guys are still asking in chat why I had switched to DI. So DI Shadowhunter is not a good class. It doesn't do that much damage. It brings a lot of utility, but the image of this particular class is actually rock bottom. However, what's important here, there's no problem beating raids with this class. I played Theomine Gate 3 multiple times. I bust Theomine Gate 3 with this class too. This class is actually, you can bust with this class as well as a solo party. It does bring a lot of utility on the team for DI itself. For those of you who are thinking, if you want to have a little bit of a higher ceiling, you can play PS Shadowhunter. The first clear for Theomine, my team that cleared first for Theomine, that time, we had a Shadowhunter in there. She was playing Nightmare, full Swift PS, Hitmaster version. She was on the family picture for it. So this class does have a high potential. But when I played PS Shadowhunter, the amount of utility is okay. But the utility that I want personally is not enough. Because I played something like Gunlancer, right? So I value utility, I value survivability, and I value ease of play much more than the damage that they can actually do. I don't usually play a high risk, high return class because usually the high risk, high return class in my roster is only Gunslinger and Slayer. Gunlancer and the supports, they are like in a completely different role. So I'm like, as you can see here, the only DPS Goblino class in this whole roster is my Slayer. And then my value in this is I just want to do raids comfortably, don't have any stress using a lot of pots, getting hit. Let's say you get hit and then you're like, you have to use a pot and then you get stressed out, all that stuff. This is the stuff I don't like the most. That's why I switched to DI. And for those of you who are playing, who want to play PS, PS is also totally fine in terms of DPS. You can play the Hitmaster version or you can play the Entropy version too. The Hitmaster version and the Entropy version are explained on my past video. On the YouTube channel, I do cover all three classes and I'm probably going to have an interview soon with the player that I played with for Theomine Clear, right? For Perfect Suppression Shadowhunter, if you guys are interested in it. But the Perfect Suppression itself is not a bad class right now. In terms of just looking at damage, it's still in a pretty higher end. DI is in a lower end, but the floor is basically stuck to the ceiling. This class is so easy that I can be drunk and still clear Boldies with this character. That's the value in it. And since I have a 9/7 stone for it, I'm playing the highest ceiling for it. And another good reason why I switched this class, transformation skin. After this transformation skin, I like my DI so much right now. So the bracelet can also be spec crit for higher crit, but I gave a little bit more swiftness because I wanted to have a higher efficiency on the raid captain. Whatever that I just talked about here, I am very enjoying these 6 classes. Probably not going to switch anytime soon. That'll be a very interesting thing actually, because my goal is to push my roster to Theomine, like clearing Theomine Gate 4 with all these characters, while not playing much more on these characters as well, like the below. So these 6 characters are going to be my focus. I will have the most knowledge on. And my secondary knowledge on the characters is obviously the Scouter, Blade, Artillerist, and Soul Eater. I have a little bit of knowledge on it, and the rest of them, I'm pretty sure most of you have more knowledge than I have. A long time ago it didn't because you guys, when the game just started in NA, you guys didn't have much information on it. I had all the information, the basic information of all these classes. In conclusion, these are the 6 characters I have, and I'm going to keep pushing for it. And I'm very happy playing them as well. And if there's anything else that you guys want me to review more in detail, you guys let me know, okay?